Cut up, and special thanks to my brother James for helping me film. So now I'm going to mix the chemicals from a Tetnol brand E6 kit. This is a 2.5 liter concentrate, where you can mix these concentrates into 2.5 liters of working chemicals, and these are actually 1 liter bottles. And this actually works out really well because I can just measure out what I need into this. And the way I'm doing it, you can use the chemicals about 5 times, and then you switch out the chemicals. The actual tank itself is a Patterson 3-reel tank because it can hold 3 reels of 35 millimeter, or I can do 2 reels of 120, and it takes, guess what, 1 liter of chemicals. So it makes it super easy to do developing because I can just pour it all in and then pour it all out and not have to worry about measuring as I go, and helps keep the temperature even more consistent. So I am using an ice chest. I have this Cinestill heater, which is called the TCS 1000, I think, something like that. I'm going to put my chemicals in here so that everything can get to the right temperature. One of the most important pieces of equipment is a handheld infrared thermometer. Now, if I didn't have a heater like this, what I would do is I would use the hot water from the tap and get it as hot as I possibly could. And then I would fill a thermal container like this, and then monitor the temperature using an infrared thermometer of my chemicals until they get to the right temperature, which in this case is about 100 degrees. If you're doing it without a heater, I'd probably go at 101 degrees. This is the timing: 6 minutes, 15 seconds, and 6 minutes and 6 minutes, with 2 minutes and 30 seconds of washing in between, 4 minutes of washing at the end. And you can see the more you use the chemicals, the longer the developing time is. Now I'm going to set it to the set temperature, which is 100. Right now it's reading at 102, so it's actually a little bit warmer than we want it to be. That's fine. And the reason why that's fine is because these chemicals have not heated up yet. So it'll still take some energy and some of the heat. All right, so now that everything is getting to temperature, I'm just going to let that run for a while to make sure everything homogenizes temperature-wise. I'm going to take my 2 rolls of medium format film. I'm going to load them into my developing tank. Which means I need to put all of this in here. If it was 35 millimeter, I would also need like a bottle opener or a canister opener. Okay, so I've loaded the film into the tank. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to get the temperature of the film to the same temperature as the chemicals and everything, which everything's going to center around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. What I can do is I can point my infrared thermometer. Usually given a few minutes of running, the water temperature will be more consistent. There we go. So this is really also important for rinsing in between developing stages. Also, if you're using a septic tank, do not develop film at home. It will kill all the good bacteria in your septic tank, and your septic tank will overflow. All right. So we take this and we put it in with everything else. So now we're going to wait probably another 2 or 3, 5 minutes, something like that, and then start developing. Okay, so everything has homogenized in temperature. So now I'm going to pour out the rinse water that I put in there, and I'm going to start with the first chemical. So once I pour this in, I'm going to set a timer on the microwave behind me for 6 minutes and 15 seconds. Put the cap on. So just like with black and white film developing or color film developing, you're going to do a turn, and I'm spinning it and I'm turning it, tapping it on the counter in order to get air bubbles off of the film, and then placing it back into the water that's at 100 degrees in order to try to maintain that 100 degrees Fahrenheit at all times. As far as agitation, I watch the clock here, the timer, and I just make sure to do it every 30 seconds, every 15 seconds, every whatever you want. Once this stage is done, I'm going to be pouring the first developer just straight back into its bottle. Timing and temperature is everything. The more accurate you are with your timing and your temperature, the better results you're going to get. That being said, doing it at home, you're never going to get quite as good results as you would in a lab where it's all highly controlled. So now that there's about a minute left on this developing stage, I need to get the rinse water to the right consistent temperature. And this is one of the most difficult parts. I'm moving the faucet handle just tiny, tiny increments. There we go. There's my timer. All right, so now I gotta pouring this back into first bottle. Set a timer to minutes and 30 seconds. Now while I'm doing this, I can also rinse out the funnel. Alright, so next is the color developer. And so it's number 2 here. And this one's going to be for 6 minutes. So as you can see, as I take the bottles out, it lowers the water level. Adding color developer. And I'm actually going to take the first bottle and put it back in the cooler here, simply to make the water level better. This Tetnol kit has a stabilizer. Most E6 kits do not have one, but this is a little bit more expensive kit. On the second developer, you have about a 5-degree latitude, as opposed to about a 1-degree latitude with the first developer. So here I'm at 102. So that's, my point being is that it's not nearly as critical for the second and third chemical baths in terms of temperature for the rinse water as it is for the first one. All right, so now we're going to do the third bath, which is the Blix. You'll be able to smell very clearly the bleach. This one is also going to be 6 minutes. So we're almost done with the third bath with the Blix. And then after this, we're going to do a rinse for 4 minutes instead of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. In case you hadn't noticed, developing film uses a lot of water. So you need to be comfortable with that. As you do it more and more, it's just like cooking. It's exactly like cooking. Basically, you'll just get better and better at it. Once again, very careful with the Blix. Yummy Blix. Okay, done rinsing. So now we're going to add the stabilizer. So the idea behind the stabilizer is that it's just supposed to make the film last longer. And I'm not a chemist. Once you're done with everything, which we just about are, you want to thoroughly rinse absolutely everything. So you actually just have to keep the film in the stabilizer bath for about a minute. All right, now the moment of truth. So the best way, so here you can see some photos on there. Break apart the film reels, just like that. And I want to make sure that my index finger and middle finger are wet here, because I'm going to squeegee the film. I'm going to grab it on one side, and then it's very slippery. Yeah, so you can see the test vehicle, and you can actually see, well, I'll show it in a different clip. All right, I see photos. There we go. 35mm. There's the launch tower. Quite a few of the launch tower. Looks like one got, no, that's one. Okay. Oh, I got cut off. I've got my second roll here. Wet my fingers. So here are my results from shooting the SpaceX launch site on slide film. I mostly took photographs for documentary purposes and not really for print purposes. And I think that's pretty well reflected in these photos. I do feel there's at least one photo that deserves to be a print, and I've put that up on darkroom.com, so you can purchase a print of that if you like. Here are some of the photos from these rolls that I thought were interesting, just photos I took through my loop. If you'd like to see higher resolution versions of these photos or see them as prints, just let me know down in the comments below. Do have some photos of that rocket that blew up, so, and the pad before it was destroyed. That's cool. I hope this tutorial on developing slide film has been helpful. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below. Bye.